On this episode, I'm joined by my friend Logan to talk about his recent trip to Legoland Florida. Today is August 28th, 2023, and this is episode 595 of the Main Street Magic Podcast.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Main Street Magic. I am your host, Jeremy Stein, and while Rhonda will not be joining me today, I will soon be joined by my good friend Logan. But first, make sure you check us out on the web at mainstmagic.com, as well as follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at mainstmagic. If you've not done so already, head out to Facebook and search for the Main Street Magic community and ask to join. Then if you hit that subscribe button, you get brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. If you're planning a trip to Disneyland or Walt Disney World, you did not get the dining reservations that you wanted 60 days out, do not worry, because Mouse Dining removes the frustration of booking Disney dining reservations, alerting you when they spot availability for your desired restaurant, date, meal, and time. Visit msmfriends.com to use this free service. So we know a lot of times people visit Central Florida for a lengthy period of time, especially if they're coming from overseas. They might go for 2 weeks, and not all that time is spent at Disney World or even Universal. So we thought it would be neat to bring in Logan from Theme Park Shuffle, who you've heard from many, many times before on this show, to talk about his recent family trip to Legoland Florida, to see if this is something that might be in your future plans. I know after talking to him, I believe it's going to be in mine. So let's go ahead and chat with Logan. Logan, welcome back to Main Street Magic. You are no stranger to this show, but it's been a little while, so it's always good to have you back on, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me.
It is good to be back, brother. It's been a long time, so happy to be making my MSM return. Hope everyone else is not too disappointed that it's me and you instead of you and Rhonda.
Oh, no, I'm sure they're very excited to hear from you, and they get to hear even more from you now that we relaunched Theme Park Shuffle. Just last week it will have been at this point, so very excited for that too. But today we're actually going to talk about Legoland Florida, which will be super interesting. I've been there once, and it was well over a decade ago. I think the girls were maybe like 2 and 4. So it has been a very long time, but we like to do things like this, especially because, you know, a lot of people will visit Central Florida for a longer, period of time, especially if they're coming from overseas at the UK. They don't spend every day in Disney. They don't spend every day in Universal. Sometimes they're looking for maybe something to do slightly outside of the bubble. So I'm really excited to hear about your trip to Legoland today. And we'll kind of just kick it off there. If you just want to kind of, I guess, introduce when you went, who went. Did you go for more than a day? Did you stay overnight? I guess give us a little background on the trip down there.
This year for our family vacation, instead of doing a Disney or Universal or really anywhere else in the state or outside the state, we really wanted to check out Legoland. Our son has gotten more and more and more into Legos. He's 6 years old now, and to be honest with you, it is the perfect age to be going to Legoland.
Yeah.
And so we decided to just do it. We really have been wanting to, and we got one of their multi-day packages where we had 3 days at the parks. We stayed 3 nights, and we stayed at the Pirate Island Hotel.
Nice.
And we went ahead, and just to make it the most relaxing experience possible, we just did basically like the all-inclusive package. So not only did that cover our tickets to all 3 of the parks, both Legoland, the Legoland Water Park, and the Peppa Pig Park, but it also included all of our meals throughout the day. So we had breakfast at the hotel, we had any lunch within the parks, and dinner at the hotel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it included, valet parking, everything was included. And what was really fantastic about the trip is that we arrived, we parked, and we never touched our car for 3 days.
Yeah.
And the fact that we were able to just stay right there, that everything was included, that we could just relax. And what was especially exciting about this particular trip is, in the past when we've gone to Disney, our son he didn't care. Like, he liked Disney, and we watch a ton of Disney at home, but as far as the experience, he wasn't really excited about going. He wasn't really um, super excited even when he was there.
Yeah.
Like he would get excited about some of the things, but honestly, it was too stimulating. And a lot of the rides felt like they might have been just a little too old for him at the time when he was, 3, 4, just to validate the expense.
Yeah.
So with this particular trip, it was great because I got his buy-in from the beginning. We went to the Legoland app, which the app is so great because it's got the breakdown of all the rides. You can actually look at these photos. So he got to go through, look at the photos, kind of decide based off of the photos which ones he was really interested in. And he actually kind of created our, I don't want to say itinerary, but he created our checklist
Yeah.
of these are the things I really want to do while we're there. And that sort of created that little bit of ownership for him, where he's now getting excited. He's anticipating what he wants to do, and really that buy-in made the experience so much better for us, because we were able to just kind of kick back and then let him run the show. And I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing. And all the rides are just 100% catered towards that age group.
Yeah.
So in fact, so much so to that age group that I actually couldn't ride a couple of them because I was too big.
I was kind of wondering that part.
Yeah.
No, so is he big into Legos at home, or is this
Yes,
just something?
very much so.
All right. So immediately had that buy-in and the familiarity of seeing everything then come to life. I'm
Absolutely.
sure, which is very,
Absolutely.
very cool. So, and I would assume, I mean, most kids at that age, even, which is crazy because it's been going on forever, are into Legos. It seems like.
Yeah.
I mean, just a week ago, Lacey was trying to get us to buy her a Lego set from Costco because she just loves putting them together. But it's kind of at a point now where they've become display pieces. You know, like,
Well, that is the truth.
when you
Yes.
think about like us growing up with Legos, you got a box of different colored bricks, and
Yeah.
you didn't know what to do with them until you just figured it out and used your imagination.
Yeah.
So that part's super interesting. So I from back when I went, it was before Peppa Pig Land opened. It was before the Lego themed Pirate Hotel opened. Are though I know that, you know, the Legoland Park and the water park are situated right there next to each other. Is it still that same way? I mean, I know you said you parked your car, you didn't have to use it again, but is everything then within a walking distance, or are there any sort of internal
Everything.
transportation? Everything's walking.
Everything is completely walking distance. So what's great is you have the Legoland Hotel, which is the original hotel. Then you have the Pirate Island Hotel expansion.
Okay.
And both of those are connected. They're literally the right next to each other. And then the Pirate Island technically has its own smaller pool, but the Legoland pool is actually the one that has the really cool slide, and it's a little bit bigger. Then the next to the Legoland pool is also where your restaurants are. So I will say this for any parents who are considering whether to stay at the Legoland Hotel or the Pirate Island Hotel, they also have these new beach bungalows that are off
Ooh.
property. They're like a little further away. And I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe they shuttle people back and forth because it is technically, a Lego resort edition. So, but what's great is if you're having to choose between Legoland and Pirate Island costs a little more, but if you appreciate a more quiet, relaxing location, please go with Pirate Island.
Okay.
The Legoland Hotel, every time I stepped into the lobby and just the general sort of area where the kids are, like where they have this giant castle and all the bricks where kids can create. And also you have the two of the main restaurants are right there, the Skyline Lounge, and then the other buffet. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but both of those are right there, and the access to the Legoland pool is all right there. So it's just this major hub, and it gets chaotic at times,
Oh
and
yeah.
so loud because kids are just having fun. They're running around like crazy. It's hilarious watching all these children with no shoes on just stomping on Legos with and being completely unfazed,
Yeah.
where us adults like
It's our
step on
worst
one and we
nightmare.
about die.
Yep. That's hilarious.
But yeah, so that would be one of my recommendations right
Okay.
off the bat, is if you want a more relaxing stay, stay at Pirate Island.
That's great info. So talk about the overall theming of the hotels. Then, I mean, because again, I'm just imagining in my head what I think they would look like being Lego themed. Is it kind of what every kid or even adult who grew up on Legos is imagining? What's it? What are the rooms
Absolutely.
like and everything else?
Everything is Lego.
Oh gosh.
Everything is just covered either in real Legos, or they have graphics, and the graphics, like wallpaper graphics, and they continue the story of the Legos. There's also this really cool smugglers bar in the Pirate Island Hotel that's right next to the stage, where they have nightly entertainment for the kids and like storytelling and stuff. And there's this really, really cool pirate island themed Lego table in that same kind of play
Oh
area,
wow.
so adults can hang out at the Smuggler's Bar, which again is all themed around a pirate Lego set. Then you have the actual pirate Lego set right there at this big table, and then you have the stage and the performers, as well as kids just running around having a good time. But again, quieter, much
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
relaxed and calm. But then inside the actual Pirate Island Hotel, it's great because as you're walking down the hallways have some of them around like the elevators. They might have a character, like a life-size character of one of the Lego figures there, the minifigs. And then on the ground, they have these really fun carpet patterns where it looks like you're walking on, for instance, like a swinging bridge, or you're walking over Lego treasure to go along with a pirate theme. And the rooms are so cool. I mean, the theming in the rooms is fantastic. More so, I mean, honestly, the theming in the Lego rooms, and especially this Pirate Island Hotel, surpassed what I've seen at the Disney and Universal resorts.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily like Art of Animation. It's probably, right there with Art of Animation, but it's that kind of theming where the moment you walk in, there's this big monkey right there, an actual three-dimensional, made out of Legos monkey. And what's really cool is by staying at the resort every day, your monkey surprises you with new gifts. So there's a little
Seriously.
scavenger hunt inside the room where you have a little list of things you have to follow in order to get the numbers. So you have, it'll say like how many bananas are on the wall next to the monkey. And then you look and the kids have to count and figure out the number and write it down. And then once you've figured out all the numbers, it's actually the code to open the safe that is underneath the monkey. And then once you open up the safe, then you have free gifts inside. And what was really cool, Griffin made out like a bandit on this one, because there's a bunk bed in every room, and so you essentially have, it's designed for two kids,
Mm-hmm.
so you always get two gifts. So even though we only
Oh
had
yeah.
one kid with us, we got two gifts every single day. So he
Wow.
was super stoked about that. Yeah, and it worked out great because the rooms are they're it's just one room, but they're divided with the restroom actually in the middle. So you have what's considered like the bunk section. As soon as you walk in the door, it's got, two kid-sized beds as bunks. They have their own TV. They have their own Lego table and the Legos provided. And then on the other side of the restroom is where you have the king bed, and every room comes with a king bed and the bunk beds. So that's your standard room.
Wow.
And they only get nicer, and they have suites with like, pull down beds and all the other options, and it just gets bigger and bigger. But with their standard room, it comes with this. And it's incredible. And again, the theming, so well done. all Pirate Island. Above the bed, there's this nicely lit map of the Pirate Island Hotel, this great map, this really strong graphic visual. It's even got a three-dimensional Lego parrot in the corner of the room. Again, just graphics everywhere. So there's not an inch of it that's not covered in graphics. Like everything is Lego, Lego, Lego. So well done. Really fun too. And again, tying that then in with the scavenger hunt inside the room made it so fun to hang out in the room.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking at some photos right now online. I mean, they're so bright and vibrant, and just, I mean, they look, yeah, every room looks like an absolute blast just to hang out in.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, wow, this is a lot more already than I would have thought. Just going
Yeah.
into a hotel like this sounds absolutely incredible.
It was. Like, another cool thing about the setup, every room comes with a desk as well. So there were nights where Griffin would be passed out after spending
Mhm.
all day at the park. My wife would be laying in bed, sort of winding down for the day, and I would have to stay up late working. And so I was able to then work there at the little desk without causing any disruption
Yeah.
to my wife or my son. They were both able to sleep comfortably without me interrupting them. And it worked out great. It was awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Well, let's see how that translates then into the parks. And we kind of were going to break this up a little bit into categories in a sense. And I know we just really talked about theming within the hotel portion. Overall theming of the three parks, because again, I haven't been there in so long, and I don't, I barely remember what any of this looks like, but I certainly don't remember it as being as incredible as you just described the hotel. So I'm interesting to see what kind of upgrades and updates they've maybe made in the past decade or so. But what did you think, especially being a theme park person who works, in the theme park industry, of the overall theming of the parks throughout?
For me, there were without a doubt certain areas that stood out as really strong and well themed and a lot going on, whereas other areas could have used a little more love. But at the same time, what's nice too is uh, knowing just sort of about the the structure of a Legoland park, and also the budget of a Legoland park in comparison to a Disney
Yeah.
Universal. Like, they maximize their budgets. They don't just spend on things that are completely unnecessary. Like, they put the money into the things that are absolutely necessary to making the experience as memorable as possible.
Yeah.
And so what we found is that the quality was really, really good. We were impressed with how well the parks were. We could tell the difference between some of the slightly older sections of the park versus the newer, like the expansions, where you had like the Lego Movie expansion areas, and some of the other sections of the park. But overall, again, it just, everything was great. Nothing was too big, which is another big one when we talk about making kids feel overwhelmed. Everything was to a scale
Okay.
for a kid.
Okay.
Like, there weren't any giant buildings other than the hotel. The hotel was the biggest building. Like,
Yeah.
that was your biggest building, but there weren't too many sort of monolithic structures. There were lots of fun elements, everything you could play with. There were little sort of splash and play areas all throughout the park. It's great because every single section had a young kid play area and a slightly older kid play area. So
That's
you
great.
had, what would be considered like a kid's thrill ride, as well as a what I would call like a Duplo, or a preschooler, toddler type attraction,
Yeah.
for something for them to do. Like, they have a whole Duplo area which features most of your really young kid rides, but everywhere you went there was that balance. So they truly thought, when designing these parks, about their demographic. They
Yeah.
really, really catered to the young kids that are going to be coming to the park.
Yeah.
Peppa Pig, especially. Peppa Pig, I honestly, if you have a kid who's 6 or older, I almost feel like they're going to be bored because
Okay.
it is really, really, really catered to like 2 to 5,
Oh, okay.
which again makes sense
Yeah.
because that's the target audience for the cartoon.
Right. No, no. What is the size of the new Peppa Pig park in comparison to just say the other parks or anything else? Like, is this a very small expansion? I mean, it's considered its own separate
It's
park
a
as a third
it's a
park, correct?
very, very, very small
Okay.
expansion, yes. In regards to just sort of land mass. And honestly, like for me, I was after 1 hour, I was done.
Yeah.
I'd done all the rides that I wanted to do. I was like, okay, I'm done. Let's go. But Griffin kept playing in the splash area, so we stayed an additional hour
Yeah.
just so he could play in the splash area. But really, other than that, we did everything we wanted to. Again, for a 6-year-old,
Yeah.
but like again 2 to 5-year-old, oh, you could stay there all day. It's like a playground. It's
Interesting.
like a playground that you never want to leave for I would say again a younger audience. So if you do have a preschool age kid, it is perfect because everything is geared towards them. It's small, which is smart because and it makes it easier as a parent because your kid never gets too far away from you.
Yeah.
And you can pretty much see the whole park no matter where you are
Oh, wow.
in the park. One thing I will say is since it's a brand new park, there really aren't any trees. So when we were there, another reason why after an hour we were ready to go because it was scorching hot. And
Yeah.
we got there right when it opened at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
And it only got hotter as the day went on. They did have shade areas there, you know, like those sort of triangular shades, and they have a big tent that covers a portion of the park and is right outside of their one restaurant and their gift shop. So there is some shade coverage, but for the most part, you are just in the sun. You are exposed pretty much the whole time. So that is the only thing for people to take into consideration if you are going in the middle of summer. Just be careful and be prepared.
Oh, yeah. Now, how does that compare to just say the regular section of the Legoland park being so that it's so much older? Is that still something that's
Well,
pretty well
what's
shaded
so
and covered?
great? Yeah. What's so great about Legoland is because it originally started as Cypress Gardens,
Mm-hmm.
so it actually was a park before it became Legoland Park. So they purchased it and then turned it into a Legoland Park, and so it has a lot of old growth. It has a bunch of tree coverage and areas where you're not just in completely exposed sunlight, hot Florida sun the entire time you're there. So that made it a lot better. Now the water park didn't necessarily have a bunch of tree coverage, but that's also pretty common for most of the water parks
Mm-hmm.
where there isn't a lot of tree coverage in general.
Yeah.
But the park itself had a lot of tree coverage. And in fact, it still has the cypress gardens that you can walk through on
Oh,
the
wow.
property, which is really cool.
That's amazing. Now, am I right that Lego does not own Legoland?
Well, that is correct. Yes, it
Okay.
is sort of owned and operated by Merlin.
Okay.
And so Merlin Entertainment Group. And yeah, so Lego licenses
Got you.
their IP.
Okay. All right. I thought I remember hearing something like that a long, long time ago. So when we get into the parks, let's talk kind of shows and entertainment value, meet and greets, things like that. What does that look like across the parks?
They did have them. Our son wasn't interested in them at all as far as the meet and greets. They did offer them, but one of the things I had noticed while we were there, which again, it didn't bother us because our son didn't care about it, but many of the meet and greets where they were supposed to be, there were often signs saying that either they weren't there or their times have changed.
Mm,
So there seemed to be a general lack of meet and greets during the 3 days we were there.
okay.
And again, this is mid-July.
Yeah.
Now it may be because it was so stinking hot that I imagine those characters would die in those full body suits.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you guys really put your focus on rides, attractions, things
Yes.
like that. I know you said that those are kind of, there's the Duplo type rides, there's the more Lego rides, and then there's the rides that Logan can't get on because he's so tall, and I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of them I couldn't fit
Boo.
on. How are the rides and attractions? And this is broken up. Like I remember there was a Ninjago Land. When I
Yep.
went, you said that there is now like a Lego movie area.
Yep.
Is this broken up into separate lands? And then what are the rides and attractions like within the lands?
So they do have lands, like sort of mini lands, if you will, within the park. But the reality is the park is small enough that even if there are lands, they quickly transition.
Yeah.
But some of the more sort of noticeable lands is you have Heart Lake City. So that's based off of what they call the Friends line of Lego.
Okay.
And then we've got the Duplo Valley. So that's where everything looks like the Duplo Legos. You have the Lego Movie World. That's where you have the Unikitty Drop Tower.
Yes.
You also have Battle of Bricksburg. Miniland USA is where they have all of the really cool Lego statues that they've built out, like these miniature scale cities that you can walk around, and there's interactive elements that you can actually press buttons, and then
wow.
parts of the city and the different figures sort of come to life. There's a Land of Adventure. There's obviously the Cypress Gardens section, a Pirates Cove section that now has a new Pirates Quest ride, the Ninjago world that we already discussed, a Lego City, and then Lego Kingdoms is where the medieval land is. So yes, they have these lands, but again, some of these lands are so small that they might just literally have one attraction
Yeah.
in them. So it's hard to kind of call them what we're used to when comparing to like a Disney or Universal land.
Of course.
They're not that developed out.
Yeah.
But yes, they do exist within the park, and each one has some kind of major attraction or show or meet and greet.
So how do they match up to? Again, I know we're looking at a younger demographic with kids for most of these rides. What types of rides are we looking at? Are these rides that were built specifically for Legoland? Are these kind of more carnival rides? Are these off the shelf rides? I mean, like, I think of going to IAPA and seeing some of these rides that you can buy on the showroom floor, or is it a combination of everything? Like, what are we looking at here?
It's a combination. For instance, inside the Adventure Land, that's where we have the Lost Kingdom Adventure, which is actually a Sally Dark Rides.
Nice.
Interactive dark ride there.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
awesome. So fun.
Yeah.
Griffin loved it. He's like, every day we were there, we went back and rode it.
Nice.
Then you have in the Ninjago Land, their main attraction, the Ninjago attraction, is made by Triotech. That features the hand movement interactivity instead of holding a blaster like in our Sally attraction inside that park. Theirs uses a blaster free, so it's just hand gesture motion, like what you would do at Web Slingers,
Okay.
but not nearly as sophisticated as Web Slingers.
Okay.
Also much older, so this tech is many years old. Then they have, let's see, Battle of Bricksburg is one of the water rides where you actually are on a boat, if you will, and both sides of it has a water hose where you can actually shoot at other guests on boats and also shoot at guests who are standing on the perimeter of the ride, and they can also shoot you. So it's just a really fun water attraction. But again, this is one of those that can be purchased off the shelf by the provider, but it's completely customized. So every single one of these are custom made for
them
the
specifically.
park. So even if they are just sort of an off the shelf coaster, all the theming that goes into the queue, the theming of the ride vehicle, everything has to be customized to fit within the Lego IP.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I was surprised by the amount of coasters there. So you have, let's see, I believe it's 4 coasters within Legoland, and then you have the Peppa Pig, or sorry, Daddy Pig's roller coaster over at the Peppa Pig Park.
Yeah.
So 5 total.
That's pretty impressive.
It was, and Griff had the best time in the world, really enjoying each one of the coasters because each one has something totally unique about it. So Coastersaurus, which was our favorite, and also was the only one that was consistently running. Like it was a beast. Classic wooden coaster.
Yeah.
Just all up and down, up and down, up and down. Fantastic, so fun, and yeah, again, like I said, reliable.
Yeah.
So that was the one coaster that every single day was 100% working anytime we walked by it. So loved that one, rode it so many times. Then you have the Dragon Coaster. The Dragon Coaster was actually my son's favorite, and my wife got to ride that one. I unfortunately was too tall to ride. My legs were too long. I couldn't get the lap bar down because my knees kept stopping it from getting pulled down. And it's really cool because with it, it actually starts out as like a dark ride. So you're on the track, you leave the load area, you're going through a medieval castle, you see the dragon, and then you sort of launch out into the ride area. And it was a very smooth coaster, the steel coaster, but everything banked. So every aspect of it was really smooth. And I know my wife and my son really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
The next one is called the Great Lego Race. This one is themed as part of the Lego Technic sets, and also has a little bit of a story that ties in with the Lego movie, with some of the characters and the ideas. You're a part of it, and it used to be VR, but they got rid of the VR. So it's no longer VR, and it is honestly just a classic Wild Mouse. And while we were there, it was consistently faulting.
Oh boy.
So there were many times, and in fact it faulted while we were riding it. But we were lucky because we were at the very end of the ride, so we actually had to get evacuated from the vehicle. We got to do the whole behind the scenes walk. My son absolutely loved it. I also was geeking out about it because I love seeing just the backstage of any ride. Especially coming right off of the Uncharted attraction and being in a coaster surrounding, and now to understand exactly what I'm looking at when I'm behind the ride, behind the curtain, if you will. That was really fun. But for the rest of the guests who were stuck at the highest point, that probably was not so much fun. And it was happening consistently throughout the day. So that is the one attraction that I would tell people, to ride at your own risk. Not that you're in danger of riding,
right?
But you might get stuck.
Oh yeah. Jeez. I usually stay off those anyway, so I think I would be okay.
Yeah. I am not a fan of the Wild Mouse. I don't like just getting thrown around like a rag doll.
No, not at all.
And then the other coaster inside the park that just closed. That it literally just closed on the day when National Coaster Day, when everybody else is announcing their major coasters. The Flying School ride closed, and that was actually a suspended coaster where your feet hung down and the rail runs above you. And it's probably a good thing that one is also being closed down. And I don't know if they're completely demolishing it and putting a new one. That would probably be nice because it is an older attraction, and both my wife and son said it was very rough. So not a comfortable ride. But they rode it, and again, Griff was a champ. He just kept wanting to ride all the coasters.
That's awesome.
It was so funny. He kept asking, like, do any of them do loops? Do any of them do inversions? It's like, dude, you didn't even want to ride a coaster a year ago, and now look at you. And then you had the Daddy Pig coaster over at the Peppa Pig land and Peppa Pig Park, and that was fun. I almost didn't fit in that one. I had to ride in the very back row by myself because otherwise I'd never would have fit.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was a smooth ride,
Yeah.
thankfully. And yeah, flying school I could not ride as well. I was too tall. But those are their 5 coasters. So they do have 5 coasters at the park. Like I said, the flying school just closed. They will be replacing it with something. They haven't announced what yet.
Yeah.
But something will be coming to replace that attraction, whether it's another coaster. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, is there any sort of fast pass system offered here?
They do. They offer it, but we went on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and honestly, you did not need it.
Yeah.
Like that's what I would recommend to anybody is if you are going to go, and if you can, just go during the middle of the week. You don't need the fast pass at all. The longest wait we had was 30 minutes for one attraction.
Wow.
And that was only because it's Florida and it rains.
Yep.
And when it rains, everybody can't ride any of the roller coasters or any of the outdoor rides. So everybody rushes to the indoor attractions. And so obviously the lines get backed up for all indoor attractions at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes perfect sense there then. So you had the all-inclusive kind of package deal. So did you take good advantage of that as far as food goes? And how is the food there as far as options, quality, and everything like that?
We really enjoyed ourselves there as far as the food goes. I know I have friends who are vegan and they've gone there and they actually enjoy the food there as well. They do have vegan options, but you're very limited. One thing I will say is basically every single meal inside the parks comes with fries.
Yeah.
Like that is your option. Your option is fries or fries. But I will say I'm usually I try to avoid fried food. But man, I don't know what they're doing at those parks, but my God, their fried food is so good.
Yeah.
They had like the perfect seasoning, the perfect amount of crisp, like consistently everywhere we went that we had to have the fries. They were so good. So, kudos to them. They've got their fry game on point. So they did a great job there. The breakfast, we loved the breakfast. It was so good. And each day, the only thing that really changes is like one day you may go and it's pancakes. The next day it may be waffles. The next day it might be French toast. That's it. That's the only thing that changes as far as what is offered. So yeah, so it comes out in a large skillet and basically it comes with eggs, bacon, sausage, potato, like chopped up potatoes, fried. Then you have biscuits, gravy, and again, either the waffles, pancakes, or French toast, depending on the day. And you don't have a choice there. It's just that's what it comes with. So, but it comes out on just this massive skillet that's big enough to feed, 3 to 4 people.
Wow, that's super impressive.
Yeah, and the nice part is too is if you need more, they just bring you more. It's all you can eat. So, but instead of being a buffet style where you walk up to the buffet and get it, they just keep bringing it to you. Dang. And then they have that was inside the Pirate Island Resort for the breakfast. Now they do have at the Bricks restaurant inside Legoland, their breakfast buffet is a little different because it is a true buffet. You walk up, you get what you want, you come back to your table. So it might be a little different on that side. From what I was told, it's the exact same food. So the food options don't change. Just the only difference is it's either self-serve or be served.
Right. Yeah. I'll take the be served.
And everything was fresh. That's one of the really nice things that surprised us was everything that was coming out actually was fresh. You could tell it hadn't just been sitting there a long time, just waiting to come out. So we were impressed by that.
Yeah.
Whether that's always the case, I don't know. But we lucked out when it came to food because everything we got was fresh. We also did the dinner buffet at Bricks. Really enjoyed that. Lots of different options on that one. So that we would highly recommend for somebody who's wanting variety. It really helps.
Wow.
Their Skyline Lounge is the actual sort of sit down restaurant, and I will say it's almost advertised as this kind of nice fine dining Skyline Lounge restaurant. That is very misleading
Okay.
because it's probably the least relaxing place in the entire building,
Yeah.
because it is, again, right there in the lobby, right next to the stage where they do the live entertainment, and the castle where all the kids are running around playing, screaming. So it was just madness the night we actually ate there.
Yeah.
Just complete chaos. So unrelaxing. I mean, we had to leave that and then go to the Smuggler's Bar just so we could like chill
Yeah.
for a little bit before we went back to our room. We had to lower our energy level and just go to a nice, relaxing, quiet area and just decompress from that dinner.
Wow, that is too funny. So we know the expectations in what we find at Disney with cast members. We know the expectations what we find with the team members at Universal. What are they called here, if anything, and how is the customer service here?
It's no Disney Universal.
Yeah.
So I will say that. But on the flip side of that, I'm not in any way saying I had negative experiences. Like everybody I talked to, from cashiers to the wait staff at the restaurants, like literally the people I talked to, I never had a bad experience when talking with them. They were all extremely nice, very knowledgeable, especially within the park. They were all very knowledgeable. So there was just something about the just kind of the lack of magic and joy that comes with the people at a Disney or Universal, where that you could tell they're like really excited to be there. That was the only thing that was kind of lacking from the from some of the interactions that we had. These were people who really kind of enjoyed their jobs and were knowledgeable, but it just didn't have that same excitement of like, I'm really happy to be here and I'm happy that you're here.
Yeah.
It was just like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it just lacked that little bit of magic that they always talk about.
No, that makes
again,
absolute perfect sense.
We had an enjoyable time. And what was kind of nice is everything was kind of so fluid that we didn't have a lot of interactions and need to worry about talking with employees, because everything just flowed. It was super chill. Everything went real easy the entire time we were there. When we would walk around and attractions would be down, the nice part is the park is small enough. You just say, oh, that's a bummer. We'll just walk to the next one. So you're only walking, an additional 5 minutes. It's not like at some of the bigger parks where you're like, this park is, this section's down. I just walked 30 minutes to get all the way to this section. I will say, though, if you are staying at the hotel and you want to go to the water park, you have the option where you can either get in your car, drive around, and then park outside the entrance to the water park, or you literally walk through Legoland to get to the entrance to the water park.
Okay.
And so we always just walked through.
Yeah.
And, it was one of those things where you're like, oh my gosh, I got to walk through the whole park. But then once you do it, it's nothing. It's not a bad walk at all. And we actually made the most of it, where we would stop and it would be like, ooh, let's ride Coastersaurus. Okay, cool. Or, ooh, let's stop and do Lost Kingdom Adventure. Sweet.
That's cool.
And so we would do that. And that kind of also helped break up the walk. And because you're staying on property, there's no like real rush.
Yeah.
The lines weren't bad. Inside the water park, definitely get there early. I would highly recommend getting to the water park early if you want to go to the water park, because early you can just ride the rides over and over and over and over with hardly any wait.
Okay.
But once it gets later into the morning, and the water park already opens later, So it's opening at 11, whereas Peppa Pig and Legoland opened at 10.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't get there around 11, if you wait till like noon is really when the crowds start coming in. And that's when the lines back up
Yeah.
really fast. But also that water park was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man, we had such a fun time there, and they have all these play areas too throughout the Legoland park and the water park for kids just to play with Legos. It's so cool. They
Wow.
have inside the Legoland park, they have what's called the Imagination Zone, and in here, they've got a couple different things you can do to test out your Lego building skills. So one of them is they have like a little drag strip, so you can make your own race car
Very cool.
and then compete against other kids. And it's great because they have the whole setup where you actually put your vehicles there at the top of the ramp, and then you hit the button, and there's a whole countdown on the screen above you. And then they release the vehicles and they race down, and then whoever gets first, you get to see it. It's like first place, big display on the monitors. And they even have to the left of the little racetracks where you can stand, and they have like first, second, and third, so you can stand
How
and get your
cool.
photo
That's
taken on the podium. And again, all the Legos are there that you can just build whatever you want with it. They also have an earthquake testing zone. Like,
Ooh.
so they have these tables, these vibrating tables that you can build up your Lego tower and then set off the earthquake, and you can adjust the intensity. And so you can watch
Wow.
as it falls apart, as the earthquake becomes more intense. It was great. It was so fun.
That's
And
cool.
and then it sort of challenges them to design differently. If you're actually trying to build really tall without it falling apart, you know how you need to link the bricks. And if you build them the wrong way, then they just fall apart.
Right.
But if you build them the right way, then you actually build the strength by the interlinking bricks. And so it's like just to see the kids learning that through doing it and just sort of trial and error is awesome. So cool.
That's outstanding. Wow. That
And
sounds super fun.
yeah, and then over in the water park, they have these really cool um, boats, so you can actually make Lego boats, and then they had this pretty killer little water racetrack, if you will, where again it's got an upper section and then it goes down, so you can test out how well your boat will float as it goes from top to bottom. It's really cool.
Dang.
It's just so much fun stuff. They have in the lazy river, some of the actual floats have these brick patterns on them, and they have these like large not styrofoam but just large floaty Legos that you can then literally just build up. So you'd have some people ride by you in their inner tube, and they'd just be covered all the way around them, like they built a little Lego block fort.
That's hilarious.
Super cool. Just fun activities. There's so much stuff to build and do. So you could literally go and say, for instance, if you had a child that can't do rides,
Yeah.
is terrified of rides, but just really loves Legos, they could go there and have the best time ever because of just walking around with all the theming and all the little interactive zones where they can just build. They'll love it. They'll absolutely love it.
That's very cool. So yeah, I mean, this sounds like such a great destination. This is a lot more impressive than, I think I had made it out to be in my head. Not knowing much about Legoland, of course. It obviously sounds like a wonderful family destination for those with, younger kids or so like that.
Yeah.
Do you think, let's just say you've got a family that is visiting Central Florida for a week. They're here maybe Sunday to Saturday. They're doing maybe a couple days at Disney or a couple at Universal. They do want to make some time to get out to Legoland. Do you think that they can experience all three parks in one full day if they wanted to, or would they be better off maximizing their time just picking, the main park or Peppa Pig and maybe excluding the water park? Like, how do you think somebody would best go about if they had one day to head out there during their week-long vacation and take advantage of whatever they could?
Depending on the hours, because you got to think, like, for instance, Legoland today was it's only open 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, that's 7 hours. I mean, that's a long day at a park
Yeah.
for a lot of people. So is it doable? Honestly, if you went during the middle of the week, I really think you could ride every single attraction and do all the parks if you really wanted to.
That's
You
outstanding.
absolutely could. I mean, Peppa Pig Park, it's only, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attractions.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can, without a doubt, you could probably ride all 5 rides in 30 minutes.
Wow.
And be done if you just wanted to do rides.
Okay.
Because again, that park it's not designed for thrill seekers.
Yeah.
It's not designed for your older kids. It is a preschool park, and it's great for that demographic.
Yeah.
Everything about the rides are designed for younger kids. Everything about the interactions, all of it is designed to keep them entertained. For as we know, when you've got a 2 to 4-year-old, the average time you're going to be spending at a park is about 2 to 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it, and then they're done, done. Or you got them on a sleep schedule where it's nap time. We got to go.
Yeah.
So it works out perfect for that. It serves that purpose, which is what's great about it. And if you're like a local, I mean, that becomes the greatest playground in the world.
Oh,
you can
yeah.
literally just go to the playground all the time. You got
Yep.
your sort of annual pass, and it's just a killer playground.
Oh, yeah.
It's got everything you could possibly want as far as a playground goes, because it literally has a playground, 2 playgrounds inside it.
Yeah.
So even if you just literally just had a young kid who just wanted to spend all day at a playground, you're like, well, there you go. It's a Peppa Pig themed playground. Awesome.
That's great.
Whether or not it's worth the value at that point,
Sure.
but hey, when you have a 2 to 4-year-old, that if you've experienced this like I have, when you spend a boatload of money to go to a Disney park, and to maybe get 2 hours,
right,
before a total meltdown, that is just like, you know what, we're done. I would much rather pay the Peppa Pig Park price and just have them have the best time in the world, because all they're doing is they're just playing the whole time.
Right.
And it's like, you don't have to worry about the crowds. You don't have to worry about all the things you have to worry about when you are at a Disney or Universal.
Yeah.
So that's what's really great about the way the parks are designed at Legoland and the Peppa Pig Park.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, if you got an older kid, do not go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless it's included in your park pass, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, it sounds like it. But that actually sounds, oddly enough, that sounds like a good almost rest day for a parent whose kids are still, because you want rest days when you're at Disney or Universal, but you can't entertain a 2 to 4-year-old at a Disney resort all day or a Universal resort all day, so it sounds like that actually could be, oddly enough, a good rest day for parents. I know one question a lot of parents may have is, especially if you're used to going to Magic Kingdom, what is the alcohol policy throughout the parks? Is it freely available to get beer or wine or cocktails? Like, what is that set up like? Because again, we're so used to Magic Kingdom. Yeah. Like compared to inside the park, and obviously a hotel has, the lounge and stuff like that.
So then, yes, it is served in the park. And I remember that they definitely served it at the restaurant inside the Beach and Brick inside the water park.
Yeah. So
I know for a fact that they did.
Okay.
And yeah, so yes, there were some options, but it wasn't necessarily something that was advertised like you would find at a SeaWorld or a Busch Gardens, where it's like, come there and drink, or a Food and Wine. It's definitely not like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So yes, do they offer alcoholic beverages? They do. But it's just one of those things where it's not necessarily advertised.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So I guess maybe following up to that question, because I think this sounds actually super cool just to see, could you see this being something that Rhonda and I could go spend a day at and enjoy, just kind of being 2 adults, just walking around, enjoying rides that we can, eating some food, just seeing everything, being theme park fans and fanatics, would you ever see adults without children going to Legoland Florida?
If they are Lego fans,
Okay.
yes.
All right. That
And
makes sense.
honestly, if you've never been, absolutely. I could totally see you going. And I definitely think that if you are an adult, you know how you mentioned, could you do all three parks in one day?
Yeah.
If you're just two adults, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You could fly through it.
Right.
As two adults who are on the mission of doing every single attraction.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You could check them all off one day, all three parks, nailed it kind of thing. But I do believe the Lego Land Park as an adult, you could still enjoy it. You can still go. The Cypress Gardens area is gorgeous. They have this massive banyan tree, which is just really fun to stand under and walk around. And the garden grounds themselves are really nice. The new Pirate River Quest is kind of meh. That was the longest wait. That was on average about an hour wait, 30
Okay.
minutes to an hour every day. We never actually rode it, but what we found is that if we walked around Cypress Gardens, you're basically walking around the ride.
Okay.
So because it's natural waterways that you're traveling through, so you're traveling in this boat through these sort of canals, if you will, that go through Cypress Gardens. So if you just walk through Cypress Gardens, you actually see half of the attraction. So
okay.
that was kind of enough for us. We're like, you know what? Actually, we've seen enough here. We don't even need to ride the boat and wait an hour for that, especially when we can just go up to Coastersaurus and there's no line, no waiting.
Right.
So we opted out of that every day we were there because the line was just too long for us.
Yeah. Well, I want to go. I want to. I literally want to go.
You guys should, some of the other attractions that adults would really enjoy, that both kids and adults can enjoy. The Lego Movie Masters of Flight is their version of Soarin'.
Ooh.
And it's really fun. It's really, really fun. If you're prone to motion sickness, there's always a chance that it might get you because it is, a simulated ride experience.
Yep.
So with anybody who watches a screen, if you might get sick from a screen type ride like a Soarin', just be prepared for that.
Okay.
But all the coasters are super chill. They're on the low side of thrill because again, they're catered towards a younger demographic. So it's one where Rhonda could probably go without even having to take her medicine,
right,
and still enjoy the park and walk around, see the different areas, take in the Lego theming. The Battle of Bricksburg is really fun, as you can as long as you're prepared to get soaked. It's really fun.
Do you know if that was a reskin of something that used to be in Ninjago? Because I remember
it's a different land.
Because I remember then maybe they used to have something, because I remember a ride that sounded super similar that we didn't know we were going to get drenched on, and I thought it was in Ninjago because this would have been before the Lego Movie stuff. It's one of the few things that I remember about going back then, but I just remember getting drenched, and I remember us being able to shoot other boats and them being able to shoot us, and it was our favorite thing there back then. Again, it was a much smaller park with a lot less to do there.
Yeah,
but
it definitely, there's no way it would have been Ninjago because that's on the other side of the park.
Okay.
So
maybe it was in a different land.
That particular area is near what I call the medieval land.
Yeah.
So maybe at some point it
was medieval
themed. Then if it came before then, that I don't know because I don't necessarily know the history of the rides in the park.
It just sounded super familiar when you were explaining it, and I remember us having an absolute blast on something like that.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm after this I might go talk to Ron and say, hey, I'm gonna go to Legoland for a day or something. I mean, honestly, I kind of want to stay in the hotel. Like that just looks super fun. You, man.
Seriously, the hotel is worth it.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I was very impressed.
Yeah.
And this, and again, this is me. So, I'm no newbie to theming and stuff. And again, like just what they were able to do, and even the depth they were able to create in just their wallpaper graphics.
Yeah.
I was just everything about it, I was like, man, this is really fun. Everything just screamed fun and so kid friendly.
Yeah.
Every inch of it. It's like, wow, they did such a killer job.
That's
And
awesome.
another cool thing in Jacksonville, there's a company called AE&S. They do a lot of the work for these Legoland resorts.
Okay.
So a lot of the graphic work and CAD work and things like that. So, it's cool to have a Jacksonville, Florida company that's also involved in the creation of some of these cool parks,
Right.
as well as, Sally and the Lost Kingdom Adventure interactive dark ride,
That's
which
really
is
cool.
so fun, so fun.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna go. I know you had mentioned something to me about photos.
Yeah. So we, again, as part of our package, it included the digital photo pass, and they were really fun. So every single one, well, not every, there's the attractions that did offer it. They had it to where all you had to do was just scan this QR code, it'd pull up your image. Some of the rides did not have people working the booth, but if there wasn't somebody working, they had instructions on how to basically find your photo. So
Okay.
that was pretty cool. You could always sort of track it down. And then they had still images as well as like these animated images, as well as these full on little video clips. So any of the coasters, they actually had these video clips for them. So you can have
Cool.
these cool little videos that you take home with you of you on the attraction, which were great. The Coastersaurus one was awesome. The dragon. So we got a bunch of those saved on the phone, and that was really fun. The Lost Kingdom Adventure has a little animated one as well. So yeah, we were impressed. We were like, well, check this out. This is cool. It was more than what we were expecting.
Right.
Maybe we just went in with no expectations, so therefore all of our expectations were essentially met.
Yeah.
So but I think honestly that's probably the best way to go for any experience is
Yeah.
just go in with no expectations, and then
Oh
if
yeah.
you set the bar too high, you're always going to be disappointed.
Well, and I
What
mean, I think that, I mean, you could have just, yeah, like you could have almost like done a tagline for Lego right there with expectations and all, because that's got to be very much to their advantage, because you've already just blown my expectations out of the water just telling me about your trip. And, you don't see a lot of marketing around Legoland. It's very few and far between. It's very few billboards. And even those billboards aren't telling you a lot. It's just slightly off the beaten path from the other Central Florida theme parks. It's a little
it
bit
is
of a
it's a
pain to get
drive.
down there too.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and constantly you see things like, bring a Coke can and get a free ticket with one bought ticket, which I think to most people lowers the value in their mind and their expectations of something like that. So it's awesome to hear that, it's exceeding expectations, to actually go there. And I mean, it really got me excited to actually check it out here at some point, and leave
Yeah.
that Central Florida Disney and Universal bubble and kind of experience something new, even if it literally is just Rhonda and I, because we're certainly not going to drag the girls there at their ages. So they would hate it. Absolutely hate it probably. But
Yeah.
yeah. So anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up?
They do have essentially a Lego store there on property. So if you do have a kid who's really into Legos, they have a large department store right there inside the Legoland park that you can purchase some of the larger kits as well as a bunch of smaller sets. If you have a Legoland store near you, like at a mall near you or something like that, then more than likely it's kind of the same stuff. There were a few exclusives though for like Legoland collectors or anybody who's really into, let's say, theme park related collectibles. They have exclusive Legoland park sets
Ooh,
that you can buy, Lego sets that you can buy that feature some of the areas of the park.
that's cool.
So that's pretty cool,
That's amazing.
to have something like that also just ties back into bringing home a keepsake that's a reminder of the experience you had. That's really cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. If I was a rich man, I would be a Lego collector. I 100% will. I love them. I mean, I know we talked about the new sets are so specific and they have these specific pieces and all, but I still love them. I've had a blast building some of those sets with the kids when they were a little bit younger, and I would collect those things like crazy if I could afford to and had the space to, but I have neither of those things, so I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, as always, I really appreciate you joining me, and it's so cool to hear kind of your experience down there. And I hope that this will get some people out there, and when they're coming here to Central Florida and they're checking out some of the theme parks, the major ones, they're always thinking about Busch Gardens and SeaWorld, in addition, of course, to Universal and Disney World, and add Legoland into your list there of places to check out. I think we'll definitely have to look at making a trip there. So Logan, as always, I appreciate you coming on, man, and sharing your experience and your knowledge.
My pleasure. Oh, and I did think of one more thing to add, especially for any parents out there with children who are either on the autism spectrum or are just sensitive, like really sensitive to certain things. The Peppa Pig Park is autism certified, so it is a certified park.
Wow.
Legoland itself also has lots of warnings. So now before you go on an attraction, it has a detailed, like simplified but detailed description of what to expect. So that way, if you do have a child who is sensitive to darkness or sensitive to loud noises or to flashing lights or any of these triggers that could really set off a child, they have it to where they have sensory guides on the attractions, which again, for a parent who has a child with certain sensory range that is very sensitive, having that can make or break your entire day.
Yeah.
Like you can have an entire day without any fits or reactions because before you get into the queue or onto the attraction what to experience. So therefore you can plan accordingly. And that is, again, that's awesome.
Yeah.
To see that being done. And again, the care that goes into making sure that the experience is great for kids.
Yeah.
And for the entire family. And so having those situations where we're avoiding any kind of extra stress that is just completely unneeded is such a game changer for again, anyone who has a child that is sensory sensitive.
That's incredible. That is super duper impressive. And that's such a great tip and yeah, knowledge for parents to have. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing that additional part. I'm glad you remembered to bring that up. That's absolutely
me too.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, my friend, until next time, whether it's Theme Park Shuffle or Main Street Magic, I always look forward to talking to you. So thank you again, Logan. And I'm sure we will see and hear from you very, very soon.
Thank you, Jeremy. Talk to you real soon.
Well, thank you all so much for listening. And of course, thank you again, Logan, for coming on and filling in for Rhonda so we could learn all about Legoland Florida. Rhonda and I are going to look at taking a trip there, maybe for a day, sometime in the near future, so then we can give you our opinions on it as well. Remember, if you go ahead and you hit that subscribe button, you're going to get these brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. And you know that I would be thankful, Rhonda would be thankful, and I'm sure even Logan would be thankful if you could please leave us a rating and review, because it really does help our show grow. That's all we've got. We'll see you real soon.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home.